I never thought I'd return to my ruined mansion, but with 150M, I had a shocking plan. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. Standing on the cracked marble steps, I hesitated. Memories flooded back like a tidal wave, crashing over me. The scent of dust mixed with faded perfume lingered in the air, raw and real. This place once held laughter, love, and life. Now, it stood silent, watchful, like a ghost of my past. As I pushed the door open, it creaked ominously, the sound echoing like a warning. Shadows danced in the dark corners, whispering secrets of what had been. I stepped inside, heart racing. My old home. Once vibrant, now a shell of decay. The walls, peeling and cracked, bore witness to my family's downfall. Each room was frozen in time, like a twisted museum of memories. That I could still feel my mother's warm embrace here, taste my father's laughter in the air. But that warmth was gone, replaced by a chilling emptiness. I moved through the parlor, the floorboards groaning under my weight. How had it come to this? The once grand chandeliers now hung like droopy flowers, dimmed and unreachable. I thought of the people I had lost. My brother, swallowed by darkness, lost to addiction. My sister, long gone, her voice silenced by tragedy. I couldn't help but clench my hands into fists. I had to reclaim this place, restore it. But what would it take? What would it cost? The weight of 150M felt heavy, almost burdensome, yet the thought of breathing life back into these walls sparked an ember of hope. There was a plan. A shocking plan. But I wasn't alone. I felt that the eyes of the past were upon me, filled with both dread and expectation. Suddenly, the wind howled outside, and I jumped. A cracking sound came from somewhere deep within the house, sending a shiver down my spine. Was that the walls saying my name? A specter of doubt slid into my mind. What about the rumors? The whispers of curses, strange happenings, and old secrets swirling through the town. I took a deep breath, gathering courage. Something in my gut twisted. This was not just a home. It was a battleground. Would I be the victor or the victim? And then, from the corner of my eye, I caught a shimmer of reflection in the broken glass of the foyer mirror. My heart thundered. A figure? Or just my mind playing tricks on me? I stepped closer, trembling, fear rising like bile. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Soft whispers filled the air as I leaned closer to the mirror, my breath fogging the cracked glass. The reflection blurred, and for a moment, I thought I saw Hermie's sister. I blinked hard, forcing myself to confront the shivers racing down my spine. No. It was just a trick of the light, or perhaps my yearning for what was lost. Yet doubt lingered, gnawing at the edges of my resolve, pushing away the inclination to spiral into memories. I found purpose again. I mustered up the courage, setting my sights on where to begin. The mansion had secrets embedded in its walls, and if I was going to navigate the path toward redemption, I needed to unearth them. That I wandered to the kitchen, once the heartbeat of our family, where we shared stories over simmering pots and laughter that rang like music. Now, it lay still. Dirt-covered counters and rusty pans were ominous reminders of neglect. As I rummaged through the drawers, my fingers brushed against something smooth, an old recipe journal, its leather cover cracked and worn. Absorbing its scent of aged paper, I felt a connection to my mother, her ink still lingering like a ghost of her presence. A warmth threaded through the chill. The urge to find purpose alongside the memories intensified. What if I could revive this kitchen, not just with meals, but with memories I could share with others? It would be a sanctuary, a place to gather and heal, that I tucked the journal under my arm, planning to explore further, until a soft rustle sent my heart racing. I turned abruptly, expecting to see a spectral figure lurking behind me. Instead, it was a small, scruffy dog, trembling and dirty, standing uncertainly at the doorway. It stepped forward hesitantly, its eyes full of innocence, as if it had been waiting for someone. "Hey there, little one," I whispered, astonished at the unexpected presence. Stooping down, I opened my arms. The dog hesitated, sniffing the air, then bounded toward me, wagging its tail fiercely. I sighed with relief, letting a smile break through my anxious facade. Somehow, this little being had already started to mend the fractures of my heart. As I held the dog to my chest, a sense of clarity gripped me. I took in the surrounding decay, the peeling wallpaper, shattered glass, and felt the stirrings of a plan forming. If I could bring light back into this space, perhaps I could invite others to help me, to carve a new future here. For the first time since my arrival, hope glimmered like the tiniest stars breaking through a stormy sky. Each room offered the chance to replace emptiness with purpose, but it was going to take more than just myself. My fists unclenched, my breath steadied. After all, I held not only the financial means to restore my childhood home, but the burgeoning strength to fight back against the shadows. As I wandered back to the foyer, my heart full of new possibilities and accompanied by my newfound companion, I caught a sudden movement from the side of the room. A flicker of light darted across the wall, vanishing as quickly as it came, enough to make the hairs on my neck stand on end. My pulse quickened, and I glanced down at the scruffy dog. Was I imagining things, or was it shivering in response to the invisible specter that surrounded our steps? At that moment, a crashing sound erupted from deep within the mansion, sending a cacophony of echoes spiraling through the hallways, rattling my very bones. Before I could register the alarm, I felt the dog press against my ankles, its small form trembling in fear. My heart dropped. Was this house alive, breathing within its haunted walls? Or had I called forth some deeper sorrow by daring to return? One thing was clear: the shadows were awake, and I was no longer alone. Just when I thought I could reclaim the mansion, I was reminded that the past held its secrets tightly, and unveiling them would require more courage than I ever imagined. I stood, breathless and torn, staring into the darkness, wondering what I would discover next and who or what had been waiting for me all along. The air grew thicker, suffused with the whispers of old memories and buried fears. As the echoes of the crash subsided, I took a hesitant step forward, each creaking floorboard beneath me a reminder of the ghosts entwined in this place. My heart raced, a mix of fear and excitement pulsing through my veins. The small dog edged closer, its body pressed firmly against my leg, as though it shared my trepidation. "Let's stick together, buddy," I murmured, giving it a reassuring pat on the head. The touch brought a fleeting sense of normalcy amidst the growing unease. I could not afford to let myself be engulfed by the shadows just yet. Only by diving deeper into this puzzle could I bring light back into the lives that had once flourished here. The crash had come from the direction of the parlor room that once held the lively gatherings of family and friends, and where my sister and I had spent countless nights crafting elaborate pillow forts. I steeled myself, knowing that each step toward the source of the sound felt both necessary and daunting. With the dog trailing close, I approached the entrance of the parlor. The door creaked open, revealing a scene that made my breath hitch in my throat. The grand chandelier had fallen, its crystals scattered like shattered hopes across the floor, twinkling ghostly reflections in the dim light. It felt as though the very heart of the room had been ripped from it, leaving only hollow remnants in its wake. The walls, now curling and distressed, bore the weight of silence, yet I could still sense the laughter that used to echo here. I stepped over the debris, squinting through the dimness, when something shiny caught my eye. There, among the shards, lay an ornate key, glimmering faintly beneath the dust. I knelt down to retrieve it, and in that moment, a surge of warmth flooded through me. The key was once an emblem of security, now just another artifact of rarity in this forsaken place. But what door could it unlock? My instincts buzzed, and I felt a flicker of purpose igniting within me. As I pocketed the key, I sensed the air shift. Something in the atmosphere darkened, as if the house itself sighed a warning or perhaps a plea. A thin line of desperation coursed through my thoughts. whispering not to linger too long in this room steeped in sorrow that I turned to leave when I noticed the dog staring at the far corner, its body rigid. Following its gaze, I saw a shadow dart behind the remnants of the collapsed chandelier. Panic crashed within me. Had I truly evoked something best left unseen? I stepped back, my heart pounding. But as I did, I remembered the stories my mother used to tell us. She spoke of an old lady who had once lived in the mansion, a woman who wore a worn-out shawl and knitted blankets for every child in the neighborhood. It was said that on cold nights, she would roam the hallways, ensuring warmth, comfort, and safety for all. What if what I saw was not a threat, but a spirit lingering for a sense of belonging? Choking back uncertainty, I decided to confront the shadows head-on. "If you're here, I want to help," I called out, my voice echoing against the dismal walls. "Show me why I'm here. Show me what needs to be done." To my shock, the temperature dropped significantly, sending a shiver down my spine, but before I could lose courage, a soft shuffle filled the air, barely noticeable yet magnetic enough to pull me closer. I could feel the dog trembling beside me, but I fought through my fear, stepping toward where the shadows lingered, yet as I reached the edge of the light, a piercing scream sliced through the hallway, more primal than any fear I had felt in this house before. I stumbled backward, my instincts yelling at me to flee, but I was rooted to the spot. The dog barked, its small frame tense with alarm. Terror held my breath captive, yet among the chaos, a flicker of hope whispered inside me. Perhaps this was not just a house of ruins, but a vessel of connection, a chance to uncover buried struggles and rebuild not just what was lost, but also what could be. But just as despair began to settle, a distant melody began filtering through the air, an eerie lullaby I hadn't heard in years. It echoed softly from the depths of the hallway, an unmistakable tune from my childhood. It was a song my mother would hum as she tucked us into bed, promising that love would always chase the shadows away. I felt my heart explode with warmth and hope, yet my resolve battled with fear. This was not merely nostalgia, it was a call back to meaning, a dare to unpack the sorrow intertwined deeply within these walls. As the chilling scream faded into the distance, I was left teetering on the precipice of understanding. I didn't know whether I was about to uncover lost secrets or unleash a darkness that had been dormant for far too long. With one last look behind me, I stepped further into the thickening shadows, ready to face whatever secrets lay ahead, knowing that only then could I uncover the threads of restoration entwined in this forsaken mansion and perhaps reforge the spirit of my family in the process. The moment I crossed the threshold into the darkened hallway, the warmth of nostalgia clashed violently with the bone-chilling fear that coursed through me. The lullaby, haunting yet familiar, danced through the air like a ghostly echo, drawing me towards the depths of the mansion. Each note tugged at fragile memories, reigniting fragments of joy and longing. I could almost feel my mother's presence enveloping me, guiding me down a corridor thick with sorrow. The dog whined softly, its body pressing closer to mine as we ventured deeper into the shadows. I tried to reassure it with soft murmurs, even as my heart raced. I couldn't shake the feeling that we might not be alone. A heavy silence surrounded us, pregnant with the weight of unspoken words. What secrets lingered here? What pain had woven its way into the very fabric of these walls? As I stepped cautiously over the remnants of the past, crumbling wallpaper, dusty picture frames, and peeling floral patterns, the lullaby slipped into a whisper, beckoning me. I paused beneath the flickering light of a broken chandelier, and the silence grew thicker, pressing against my chest. I felt that I was not merely retracing old paths, but venturing into the raw history of my familiar history tinged with grief and loss. And then I saw a door, slightly ajar at the end of the hallway. Its weathered frame appeared untouched by time, though the rest of the house lay in disarray. The key in my pocket felt heavy against my thigh as I approached, my hand trembling slightly. Could this door hold the answers I sought, or would it unleash horrors best left buried? I urged the dog to stay by my side, uncertainty gnawing at the back of my mind. It's just a door, I whispered to myself when the memories of childhood laughter bubbled up again. The laughter of a sister once vibrant, animated, shared with me in these very halls. Just a door. With a deep breath, I reached out and pressed my palm against the cool wood, feeling the faint vibrations of the musical notes still swirling around me. I pushed it open slowly, and it creaked as though protesting my intrusion. The room beyond was dimly lit, the light filtering through heavy drapes that clung desperately to the windows. In the center of the room lay an overturned armchair, surrounded by scattered books, faded pages curling at the edges like the memories I was trying to reclaim. But it was the sight of a familiar object on the floor that grabbed my attention, a porcelain doll, its face cracked, yet its piercing blue eyes seemed to hold on to something deep, unfathomable. Panic swept through me. I recognized it as a cherished companion from my childhood, one my sister had loved dearly. Kneeling, I reached for the doll, feeling a rush of warmth flood over me as fingertips brushed against its porcelain skin. It was a connection to my sister, a fleeting remembrance of simpler times before darkness loomed over our family. As I held the doll close, a wave of sorrow swept over me, fusing with the anxiety I had felt upon entering the mansion. In that moment, the room felt a swell of memory rushing back, each heartbeat bringing me closer to a revelation, yet further from the peace I sought. Suddenly, the melodic whisper of the lullaby shifted, transforming into a dissonant cry, resonating through the walls, a stark contrast to the tender memories. The urgency of its call wrapped around me, demanding my attention. Thrusting the doll into the pocket of my jacket, I rose to my feet and turned toward the source of the song. Darkness shifted along the far wall, silhouettes flickering like shadows battling against a flame. My heart thudded in my chest, but curiosity propelled me forward. Perhaps the spirits murmuring within the house weren't trying to frighten me, perhaps they were trying to communicate. I had come here to uncover the past, but now I sensed they wanted the same. The low, mournful sound escalated into a desperate plea, echoing off the walls like an invitation. I stepped further inside the room, drawn closer to the phantoms dancing on the edges of light. There, amidst the shadows, I caught sight of a figure lingering, an old woman clad in a knitted shawl, her face obscured yet familiar enough to chill me to the bone. My breath hitched as she turned, the sudden rush of recognition gripping my chest. It was the spirit of the lady my mother spoke of, the kind-hearted woman who roamed these halls, draping warmth around the lonely hearts of children. Yet now, her eyes held a sorrow so deep it reverberated within me. "Help me," she mouthed, though no sound emerged. The plea shot through the air like a bolt of lightning, and I felt an inexplicable connection, a shared grief that promised to unravel the tangled history within these walls. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, to respond, the floor beneath me trembled violently, sending shock waves through the room. Books fell from shelves, the dolls slipped from my pocket, and the air crackled around us. I stumbled back, my heart racing, as the old woman beckoned me closer, her shadow flickering as if caught between worlds. "Find the truth," she whispered, the echoes of her voice melding with the chaos all around me. Just then, the lights flickered once more, and I could barely comprehend the weight of her words before the entire room plunged into darkness. In that moment, the sound of shattering glass pierced the stillness, sending a million shards of reality tumbling down. I clutched the arm of the dog, both of us teetering on the edge of panic, the darkness closing in around us. Instinct kicked in, and I turned to flee, but the haunting melody surged back, saturating the air with urgency, a reminder of everything I had to uncover. Yet beyond the veil of darkness, the weight of the unknown pressed heavily on my chest, leaving me in despair. Whatever truth I sought that day would come at a price, and as I stood paralyzed, caught between fear and the call to action, I couldn't shake the inevitability that my past was clawing its way back to the present. I clutched my chest as I stepped back towards the door, unable to fight the pull of the ominous shadows. Then, just as I finally turned to escape, I heard an unmistakable sound of a child's laughter, echoing through the corridors of time like a siren's call. The laughter quickened the pounding in my heart. Were my sister and I not finished with this story? Had I returned not just to confront what had been lost, but to reclaim innocence buried under layers of sorrow? With my heart in my throat and fate churning in my stomach, I pushed forward towards the exit, an insatiable determination igniting within me. I had to uncover everything, the secrets, the grief, and the joys, and perhaps, just perhaps, forge the thread of our family's legacy anew. But as I turned back for one last glance, the woman in the shawl stood there, eyes piercing, a whispered warning hanging in the air: "You may not like what you find." As I stepped back into the hallway, the echoes of my sister's laughter seemed to swirl around me, filling the air with a haunting melody that hung heavily in my mind. The shadows of the mansion felt more alive now, the walls whispering secrets that yearned to be unearthed. My heart raced with an unprecedented urgency, yet each step I took felt like a forbidding descent into a place where loss and creativity intertwined in a chaotic dance. The dog pressed closer, sensing not just my fear but a growing resolve. In the corridor, the once muted sounds of the house, the creaking of floorboards, the rustle of old drapes had morphed into something almost sentient. It felt as if the mansion itself was alive, urging me to delve deeper, to unearth the truths that had remained buried for far too long. Yet, the weight of the old woman's warning loomed over my thoughts, a specter of caution amid the flickering hope igniting within me. Searching for Sarah was quickly becoming a thread that I could no longer ignore. Had she left any traces behind, remnants of her life that clung to this decaying beauty? Or had I returned to a pain too great to bear? With adrenaline surging, I retraced my steps to the room where the porcelain doll had succumbed to gravity, lying unceremoniously atop the cluttered floor. I rushed to pick it up, cradling it as if it were not just a remnant of my sister's childhood, but her very spirit wrapped in ceramic skin. But something shifted as I clutched the doll tightly. With the recall of my sister's laughter looped in my mind, I felt the anguished quiet of the house shift with it, resonating in my bones. It dawned on me then, an epiphany threatening to break free, a connection that transcended living and not living. The laughter, it wasn't just a reminder of what had been, it resonated with the girl I remembered from days illuminated by innocence, who had once filled this mansion with light before darkness crept in. Could this forgotten place, once a home, now a vessel of grief, serve as the backdrop for the salvation of my memories? Questions poured into my mind, drowning the dawning hope as I left the room and wandered toward a small door at the end of the corridor, half hidden beneath blackened ivy and fading sunlight filtering in through cracks in the walls that it creaked open at my touch, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling down into darkness. The air was damp, musty, rich with the scent of decades of abandonment, and a shiver slid down my spine. I hesitated only for a moment, too conscious of every pulse in my throat, too aware of the poor decisions made in the past. But Sarah's laughter persisted like an urge I could not claw my way out of. With the doll tucked safely in my jacket, I descended into the unknown, my heartbeat in sync with the rhythm of each creaking step. Finally, I reached a small underground room, illuminated only by a single flickering bulb dangling from the ceiling. The walls were lined with shelves, old newspapers yellowing, peeling paint hanging in tatters. Yet, amidst the clutter lay a trunk, battered yet sturdy, its iron latch barely hanging onto the hope of being opened. As I approached, a feeling tinged with both dread and curiosity engulfed me. What could be tucked away in this forgotten chest? My fingers trembled, grasping the latch. As I released it, the soft click echoed like a heartbeat in the dead silence surrounding me. Drawing in a shaky breath, I lifted the lid, and dust swirled in a puff around me, as if the air itself held back its breath. Inside were letter slips of folded paper, yellowed with age. I recognized my mother's handwriting on the topmost page, and it felt like a piece of my heart had been retrieved from a chasm of despair. I sat on the cold, hard floor, surrounded by shadows, and slowly unfolded the letter, my heart pounding with each intricate stroke of her pen. Dear Sarah, it began, if you ever find this, please know that you are the light of my life. You've always been the heart of this family. I wish I could be there to guide you, but I fear the darkness consumes. Panic tugged at my insides, and I stopped, wishing I could locate the words that must await me in more letters, eager to piece together the story they wove. But the darkness in my chest tightened. A jolt of anguish pierced through the frayed edges of nostalgia. Just as I was about to dive deeper into those memories, the rustling sound floated from behind me. My pulse quickened as I peered over my shoulder, uncertainty flooding my senses. Had the mansion decided to claim me as part of its lore? I turned fully expecting to see nothing, yet there was again a shadow darting at the edge of my vision, just beyond the glow of the bulb. A piercing scream echoed through the room, vibrant and raw, flooding my memory with an image of Sarah's face, twisted in fear. Then silence, oppressive and suffocating. In an instant, I was thrust back to that moment years ago, a devastating event that had catapulted us into the darkness. Do you hear me? I whispered, standing yet again on the precipice of revelation and heartache. Is this you, Sarah? but all that followed was an eerie silence, and the weight of her absence bore down on me, as insistent as the gathering darkness around me. I felt panic engulfing me anew, and as I turned to gather the letters back together, another louder rustle suddenly emerged, a swift movement that sent my heart spiraling. In a flash, the shadows shifted, elongating and swirling as a sudden gust of wind blew from nowhere and extinguished the light. Darkness enveloped me, and I felt my way back towards the staircase, hoping to escape. But as I reached for the door, it slammed shut, forcing me back against the wall, heart racing with fear that I was not alone. I could feel eyes upon me, watching, waiting, clawing back the memories I was so desperate to regain. And in the predatory stillness that formed around me, those chains of familial love and loss forged into chains of uncertainty and emotional tempest building inside me. As my breath caught in my throat, laden with trepidation, the tension swelled wherein my heart threatened to burst. One final revelation loomed, promising to rip apart the flimsy fabric of hope I clung to, or weave it into something tangible again. What if it was not just Sarah I lost? What if this time, the truth could quench the fire of our familial specters? And that's when I heard the unmistakable sound of my mother's voice echoing in the silence, blending with the flicker of memories as she called my name, resonating from the depths of the darkness. Help us find light. Return. I stood paralyzed, a spectator to my own desperation, the shadows closing in, leaving me to confront whatever lay within us. The chill of understanding swept through me. In the spaces between breaths, I realized this: the cost of uncovering the truths buried here might be more than I anticipated, far beyond the ruins of a mansion that had once felt like home. The weight of my mother's voice pressed against my chest like a forgotten burden, awakening layers of grief I thought I had buried deep. Help us find light. The urgency in her words echoed like an incantation, reminding me that the cycle of pain wasn't just confined to Sarah. What had befallen us all? Even in my fear, I recognized that understanding our past was the path to moving forward, or to being entangled deeper in the darkness that surrounded this cursed mansion. The sudden coldness of the air swirled around me as I fumbled with the trunk's edge, desperately wanting to uncover more of the letters. I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I needed to know the full story, the threads connecting us all. But instead of confronting the darkness that gnawed at my resolve, I remained frozen, barely a breath escaping me in the growing stillness. Then I heard the crack of a branch outside, and my heart caught in my throat. Maybe it was just a wayward animal scavenging, or perhaps something more sinister lurked just beyond the flickering shadows. I forced myself to lean back, tilting my head toward the staircase I had only just ascended. A flood of instinct tore through me, a primal need to run mingling with the desperate urge to remain tethered to the soul of my familial past. With each tick of silence, the weight of my choices bore down heavier. I needed to act to reclaim the fragments lost within the folds of tragedy that had initially spread like poison through our lives. My mother's voice still resonated within, urging me forward like a lighthouse cutting through storms, and I remained anchored within that spark of hope. With a deep breath, I focused on the letters sprawled evanescent on the floor, gently laying them back inside the trunk. I needed a place to begin the last tangible remnant of who they had been. I moved my trembling hands through them, feeling both loss and faint redemption interwoven in the ink, until a particular envelope caught my eye, emblazoned with an elaborate seal. It was unopened. My heart raced as I lifted it, and with the flicker of the bulb guiding me, I carefully pried it open. The script within was a mixture of frantic urgency and love. It spoke of fear, the kind birthed from within the walls of this very mansion, as if the insecurities had carved deep grooves into the very bones of our family. Dear Sarah, it began, there are truths I cannot share in person without risking your safety. The answers we are seeking are hidden in the ruins of our memories, where shadows linger. If anything should happen to me, know that our legacy is more than pain, it is resilience. Find the light. As I read, the realization struck like a thunderclap. My mother had intended for Sarah and me to navigate the labyrinthine history tethered to this dwelling, a quest for something poignant, something that would forge our scattered family back together. But the darkness that had swept through our lives held tight to its secrets, and in that moment, my need to uncover them surged greater, not just for me, but for Sarah, for my mother, for the family we had lost. Suddenly, with a rumble, the shutters rattled as another gust of wind rushed through the room, extinguishing the light once more. Heart pounding, I grasped for the walls, trying to steady myself within the suffocating dark. Shadows knotted and twisted, the very fabric of my dread solidifying into an ominous presence closing in around me, and in that instant of unrelenting blackness, I heard the unmistakable sound of a child's laughter, ricocheting off the darkened walls, blending with the echo of my mother's pleas. "Help us find light." A wave of visceral recognition washed over me, piercing through the veil of despair. It was Sarah. She was here, anchored in the realm between reality and memory, unresolved and yet unwavering. "Sarah." My voice broke as I called out, trembling at the whisper of her name, the sound merging with the echoes of her laughter. Answering my call, a soft glow began to seep into the room, illuminating just enough for me to glimpse a silhouette, delicate yet ethereal, woven into the ethers of the obscured. My heart raced with trepidation and hope, entreating her to show me, to guide me. "Follow," came a voice, soft and clear, layered over the echoes of shadows. My resolve steadied at her command. If that was Sarah beckoning me with the determination I thought I had lost, I could not ignore the bond tethering us together. As I moved through the darkness, feeling my way toward her, I wondered what lay beyond the truths, the revelations hidden within this haunted vial of memories. But as quickly as she appeared, the glow faded, leaving me grasping at the thinnest strands of light in an engulfing dark. "Sarah." I cried out once more, but only deafening silence answered. Heart racing, I turned back to the staircase, but something held me in place. Above me, a distinct sound reverberated, a slow, deliberate whisper threading through the cold air. "You should not have returned." The words dripped like honeycomb, sweet yet poisoned, chilling my very marrow. My breath quickened as the realization dawned on me. This place, this mansion, it was not just a home. It was alive, an entity steeped in the sorrow and secrets carried across decades. The dim pulse of the past echoed through its hallways, revealing itself as an interminable riddle entwined with our destinies. Trapped between the shadows of yesterday and the dawning light of tomorrow, I stood at a crossroads. I could delve deeper into this labyrinth, confronting the phantoms of my family's legacy, or retreat entirely, choosing to let go of ghosts that haunted me. Yet, the fissures within me expanded as a truth clawed its way to the surface. If I didn't uncover what had been buried, what would I have left? With my heart throbbing in defiance, I made a choice. I would not leave this place without answers. A torrent of love and fear coiled around my chest as I summoned every ounce of courage. The past awaited me, the ghosts of our family cried out for their light, but just as I resolved to ascend into the shadows once more, a realization struck me like a chilling bolt. The mansion had secrets, yes, but so did I. And as that darkness engulfed me again, I felt it pulling me back towards memories I had fought to keep locked away, memories I wasn't ready to confront. My reflection flickered across the trunk, shadowy yet familiar. Was it truly me staring back, or the echoes of those long gone searching for resolution? In that climactic uncertainty, a wild, terrifying thought pierced through the tumult. What if my own darkness was the key to discovering my family's truth? The thought overwhelmed me. Could I truly unlock the door, not just to the mansion or to myself? The journey waited just beyond the shadow, ready to reveal itself, demanding more than what I dared to give. I took a step forward, deeper into the abyss, ready to confront the echoes of my own heart amidst whispers of calamity. The darkness that enveloped me felt like a living entity, pulling me into an unseen depth that resonated with the pain and memories I'd tried to bury. I hesitated at the threshold of the unknown, a raw vitality igniting within me as I recalled every ounce of my mother's love and desperation. The mansion's whispers lingered provocatively in the air, urging me to confront the shadows that danced tantalizingly just out of reach. As I ascended the stairs, I felt the floorboards creak beneath me, harmonizing with my racing heartbeat. Each step echoed the rhythm of my fear, but with it came fragments of hope, spilling over like embers trying to be rekindled. My mother's parting words beckoned me like a siren, calling not just for aid but for understanding, the hope of unveiling layers of our intertwined past. The upper landing opened like a portal, presenting me with a corridor steeped in memories, faded photographs lining the walls like sentinels guarding our histories. Time-worn frames captured moments of joy and sorrow alike, faces gazing back with knowing expressions, urging me to delve deeper. I moved toward the first photograph, a sepia-toned image of my mother holding a younger Sarah, their expressions radiant, untouched by the shadows that would later carve their lives into turmoil. A flood of emotions pierced me, and as I stood transfixed, I noticed something flutter at the corner of my eye. Turning abruptly, I caught sight of a flickering candlelight spilling from a room further down the hall. Intrigue and trepidation gripped my throat as I approached, the warm glow a stark contrast to the cold grip of dread that had held me captive until now. Pushing open the door, I was hit with a wave of familiar warmth. The room brimmed with nostalgia, a small sitting area, perhaps once my parents' sanctuary, the air thick with the scent of old books and forgotten conversations. In the center, a worn armchair sat adjacent to a small table, where an unlit candle stood patiently, yearning to be rekindled. As if guided by an unseen force, I reached for a matchbook resting idly beside the candle, the leather cover frayed from years of neglect but still intact. My fingers trembled as I struck the match, its flickering flame illuminating the space around me. Shadows danced on the walls, and in that moment, it felt as though the room exhaled a sigh, a swirl of memories cascading into view. The candle flickered to life, and as I sank into the armchair, a sense of serene familiarity enveloped me, cradling me like a long-lost hug. The warmth drew me into a tranquil reverie, and just as my mind began to wander, I heard it again, that laughter, both enchanting and heart-wrenching, mingling with the distant rustle of leaves outside. Was it Sarah? Or merely a figment of my imagination, a desperate echo from my yearning heart? A sudden softness stirred beside me, a presence lingering in the air. "You must remember," a voice murmured, gentle yet firm, like a whisper wrapped in warmth. I turned, eyes searching the fading light, only to be met by swirling tendrils of mist. An apparition, maybe. As the spectral glow shifted to reveal a silhouette, I recognized the shape of my mother, standing delicately at the edge of memory's riverbank. Her figure shimmered like my childhood dreams, a puzzling amalgamation of the past and fading light, yet undeniably present. "You've come home, my love," she breathed, her voice stirring long-buried emotions inside me. "Mom," I gasped, tears pooling in my eyes. This moment felt fragile, teetering on the edge of dissolution. "I've tried to find you, to understand," she soothed, her visage flickering like a flame caught in the wind. "You are stronger than you know. Your heart holds the key." Her voice trailed off, mingling with an outpouring of memories, all the lessons she had imparted, the within-the-walls secrets woven tightly around love and loss. But how do I unlock it? The question hung in the air, and I felt the walls of the room pulse around me, the mansion listening, aching for revelations that danced just below the surface. "Seek the truth. Even if it hurts," she urged, her warm gaze locking onto mine. "You've yet to confront the silence that holds our history captive. Find the room where all began." Before I could respond, a sudden jolt quaked through the floor, shadows enveloped the light, twisting into chaotic forms. The flickering candle threatened to extinguish once more, and I felt the chill encroaching in on everything we had just spoken of. "Mom." My voice rang out in panic as the room seemed to grow distant. "Mom, don't leave me." My fingers clawed at the air, desperation weaving through me like a fierce tidal wave. "The truth must unravel, Evie," she urged, her figure dissolving into the air. "Follow the path to light," I gasped, extinguished darkness swallowing her essence, leaving me once more alone in the fragile solitude of the moment I wished would last forever. The shadows closed in again, sharper, more menacing, and an icy feeling crept down my spine. Gathering my resolve, I pushed against the haunting emptiness, shaken yet bolstered by her words. My family's fractured legacy demanded confrontation. Seeking closure meant venturing into the depths of their despair, and perhaps, my own. That I stumbled back into the corridor, propelled by both my mother's urging and my unease. The house had awakened, its stories beckoning from beyond the veil, waiting for me to unearth long-buried truths. Each step echoed louder, reverberating in my bones, urging me forward, but as I turned to head down the hallway, something caught my eye, a glimmer of light from the end, pulsing with urgency. I raced toward it, propelled by instincts that whispered of truths waiting to be uncovered, of secrets spinning in the tapestry of our lives, nursemaids to the trials ahead. And then suddenly, as I reached the threshold to the last room, the air shifted, heavy with tension thick enough to taste. With a single push, I opened the door to reveal a mirror. An ornate mirror that was unlike the rest, with swirling designs etched in gold framing it. In its reflection, however, lay a truth I had never anticipated. For gazing back at me wasn't merely my own face but fragments of my mother's, Sarah's, and shadows of ancients that haunted this place. Their collective gaze pierced into my soul, demanding answers for long-forgotten pain and loss that I stood frozen, heart racing in my chest, a revelation skimming the edges of my consciousness. The whispers of my lineage swirled around me, forming a symphony infused with anguish, love, and a haunting call to action. What had I stumbled into? Would I brave this reflection and uncover the weight of our story, or would I be lost within its depths forever? With a trembling breath, I stepped closer to that mirror, ready to face a collective past that awaited me in a cacophony of light and shadow. And just as I was about to touch the surface, the door behind me slammed shut, echoing loudly, sealing me into the heart of our family's legacy. The sound of the door slamming reverberated through the room, compounding the tension that enveloped me. I whirled around, panic coursing through my veins as I yanked at the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. The weight of history pressed in on me, and I was trapped in this echo chamber of our family's secrets and pain. Turning back to the mirror, the swirling reflections seemed to pulse with life, each face reflecting not just their own sorrow but a strand of my existence tangled within theirs. It was as if they were ready to unravel the truth, tugging at the threads of my identity, demanding I return to where it all began. Why? I croaked, addressing the mirror. Why this? Why now? The faces blurred, and for a fleeting moment, I caught the shimmer of my mother's eyes glimmering with unshed tears. You are the key, the echo of her voice whispered, resounding in my mind as strong as the first time I had heard it. I staggered back, grasping at the arm of the chair from the sitting room, grounding myself before the mirror once more. Each pulse of reflection pushed me deeper into memories I had buried. I could see Sarah, her innocent laughter ringing out as she played in the Gardena moment of bliss before the storms rolled in. While that laughter shimmered, shadows flickered behind her, ghosts guiding me closer toward the chaos that undermined our family. We thought you were lost, a voice murmured, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Gathering courage, I focused again on the mirror. The faces emerged clearer now, their features intensifying with emotion. Questions that had loomed in my heart erupted like fireworks. What happened to us? What buried secrets do we share? Why did you leave me drowning in the dark? The reflection shifted, and suddenly I was pulled into another memory, the echo enveloping me like a fog. I found myself in a familiar room that felt distant yet hauntingly near, a child's room filled with toys, battered stuffed animals. An old journal lay carelessly open on the floor. I was now the child again, peering through the eyes of my younger self, my heart racing in tandem with every memory that replayed. I saw flashes of those early years, moments of fleeting joy intertwined with shadows of anger, the sounds of shouting in the other room, my mother's whispers of reassurance, shushing me from the chaos that lurked. Help me understand, I pleaded into the abyss, my voice a mere echo in the silence of my past. As if summoned, the figures in the mirror distorted, swirling into a torrent that regained clarity. My mother's image took center stage, her expression desperate, pleading with me to see beyond the surface. What I did for you. You must find it within. That phrase struck through me like an arrow. What did you do? I screamed, my voice shaking with unresolved anguish. The mirror shimmered violently in response, and my heart pounded with mounting dread. Suddenly, the reflection seemed to fracture, revealing a scene etched within the mirror's depths, the day of the accident, a storm-wrought evening marked by shattered glass and anguished cries. I stumbled backward, grappling for the truth in that shimmering tableau. No, I whispered, clutching my head, trying to make sense of the rush of emotions cascading over me, a blend of guilt, anger, betrayal, and heartache I had tried to suppress for years. That was the precipice from which our lives had unraveled, the moment where all had stagnated, gnawing away at our family like a slow poison. And then, through the turmoil of images, a new figure emerged. A man etched within the background, faceless but filled with a presence that choked the air. A web of questions crowded my mind. Who was he? What stark role had he played in our demise? Before I could evade the horror, the atmosphere thickened, forcing an unwelcome realization upon me. This was the truth I had sought, but it was enshrouded in darkness I could no longer flee from. Just then, an unexpected thump rattled the house, a resonant echo that jolted me from my stupor, breaking the mirror's enchantment. The manic energy in. The air shifted, pulling my focus to the window that unveiled tempestuous weather outside, a storm gathering strength, its fury threatening to mirror our fragmented history. The momentary clarity was ripped away as shadows curled around me, and the wind howled through the cracks in the mansion walls, echoing the cries of generations lost. Every corner of this forsaken place resonated with a deeper plea, one that had gone unanswered for too long. Torn between the desperate need to uncover the mystery that tethered me here and the oppressive weight of ancestral pain, I felt the urge to retreat. But I realized now, I could not. Not without confronting what lay beyond the mirror, not without facing the family legacy I had inherited. Bracing myself, I extended my hand toward the mirror once more, ready to embrace the shadows or unveil the light. I will not run anymore, I declared, sense of resolve blooming within me. You can't hide from me. Just as my fingertips brushed against the chilly surface, the world around me pulsed violently, the very fabric of reality distorting. The faces within the mirror screamed, unable to break through the surface. And then blackness. A blinding light swallowed me whole, and as I hurtled through the void, I caught a glimpse of a figure behind Masamion, watchful, someone waiting to reveal the truth. Then all went quiet, plunging me into a suffocating stillness. A chilling uncertainty gripped my heart. Had I unleashed something I could not control? Would I finally grasp the reality of our story, or would I remain ensnared in a cycle of despair? The echoes of my family's legacy tightened their grip, and I could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down as I drifted into darkness, driven only by the hope that awaited beyond. The darkness wrapped around me, thick and stifling, a cloak of uncertainty that muffled my thoughts. I didn't know how long I had been in this void, suspended between two worlds, but the air grew heavy with anticipation. Images flashed across my mind, snippets of memories, desperate pleas, and shadowy figures, all weaving together to create an intricate tapestry of loss and longing. Suddenly, I felt a tug at my consciousness, a beckoning lure drawing me toward an unseen possibility. And then the stillness shattered, particles of light bursting open like the dawn breaking through midnight. I was thrust back into reality, standing in the very room where it had all begun, me childhood sanctuary turned mausoleum of heartache. The air was electric, crackling with the residue of my journey. To my immediate left, the old oak wardrobe, the irony of light and dark, stood steadfast against the peeling wallpaper, bearing secrets I had long avoided. Part of me wanted to bolt, to escape the reminiscences swirling around that room, but another, stronger part of me craved connection, understanding, closure. With tentative steps, I approached the wardrobe, hand trembling as I reached for the handle. It creaked open, unleashing an earthy scent of mothballs and nostalgia. Inside, stacks of clothes, ghostly silhouettes of the past, lay neatly arranged, but they weren't just garments, they felt alive, each one woven with moments of laughter, sorrow, and familial ties. Tugging at one corner, a familiar red dress fell into my hands, the one my mother wore on one of the few occasions I saw her smile amid our chaotic household. The memory rushed back, vivid and intoxicating. "You look beautiful, Mom," Id exclaimed, her laughter ringing like bells as she spun in front of me. Now, that sound felt like a candle flickering in the depths. As I sifted through the fabrics, a slim book slipped from the alcove of winter coats, landing at my feet with a soft thud. It was my mother's journal, worn, with frayed edges that told stories of their own. My breath caught in my throat as I knelt to retrieve it, a treasure from a past I had desperately sought to bury. The pages flipped open, revealing her looping script, familiar and comforting, yet laced with the pain of revisited memories. I skimmed the words that spilled forth like secrets begging to be illuminated. She spoke of dreams, of hopes, but darker currents threaded through her writings. Nightmarish encounters, fears of loss, and the shadow of that fateful day haunted her pen as much as they haunted the manor itself. One entry caught my attention, a passage scrawled in a messy, hurried hand: "The legacy we cherish can also imprison us. I fear for my children and what will become of them. The storm approaches, and the choice must be made. I hope they find their way past the mirror." The chill in the room intensified as I recognized the faint warning buried within those lines, begging to be unearthed. I could feel the storm she referred to was not merely the one that had ripped our family apart, it lingered, threatening to consume me if I did not confront it head-on. The mirror, the accident, the man I'd spotted in the shadows. Everything swirled together like a violent tempest that a loud crash echoed from somewhere in the mansion, startling me from my reverie. My pulse quickened, the hairs on my nape standing at attention. Desperately grasping the journal, I forced myself back to the wardrobe, pushing aside clothes in frantic search of what I might find, the shadows creeping ever closer. Just then, a gentle knock at the door shattered the claustrophobic silence that had enveloped me. My heart received a visitor. In this place swallowed by shadows? I eased the journal into my side pocket, hoping to unearth more truths later, pulling the door open a crack, preparing for whatever lay ahead. To my astonishment, standing just beyond the threshold was a woman whose features were strikingly familiar. Her brow was lined with worry, her expression laced with an urgency that felt all too familiar. "You found it," she murmured, her voice a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Who are you?" I demanded, unsteadiness coursing through my words. My heart beat loudly against my ribcage, unsure whether I was facing a ghost from my past or a soul seeking salvation. "My name is Eliza," she replied, her eyes quickly scanning the room before settling on me again. "I was your mother's closest friend. I've come to help you understand. There are things you still do not know, truths locked away that could change everything." A chill coursed through my body as the weight of her words enveloped me, and a flicker of hope sparked in the darkness. Yet dread coiled in my stomach, an unsettling notion that perhaps some secrets should remain buried. "Why now? Why after all these years?" I asked, instinctively mistrustful even as curiosity tugged at me. "Because," she whispered, "the storm is here and it's calling for you." As those words hung in the air, a surge of wind howl echoed through the mansion, rattling the windows with the ferocity of its tempest. The flickering light seemed to resonate with the chaotic uncertainty of the moment, leaving me teetering on the edge of revelation or ruin. Before I could respond, a bone-chilling scream pierced the air from within the recesses of the house, freezing me in place. Recognition washed over me like a flood. This was not just a call for help, it was a harbinger of the darkness that had claimed my family. "Come," Eliza urged, stepping closer, her eyes shining with resolute determination. "I can help you uncover the truth, but you must be willing to face it. Are you ready?" In that moment, I knew I stood at a precipice, my heart thrumming with fear, longing, and a potent sense of fate pushing me forward. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. "I'm ready," I whispered, though doubts clung to my heart like shadows. As we moved deeper into the maelstrom of memories, I could feel the chilling fingers of the past gripping at my heels, reminder that breaking free from family ties would demand unyielding courage. And just as we stepped into the hall, a familiar figure appeared in the distance, cloaked in shadow, a figure who had haunted my nightmares. It loomed larger than life, and with a heart-stopping recognition, I realized it was the man from the mirror, stepping out of the abyss, ready to confront what he had set in motion all those years ago. In that heartbeat, the ground beneath me felt unsteady, and dread mingled with the faintest glimmer of hope. The reckoning had come, but would the revelations be my salvation or my undoing? And as the storm raged outside, so too did the conflicts within, emotions coursing through my veins, pushing me toward the clash I had been unknowingly waiting for. Every step toward that unfamiliar figure, shrouded in shadow and obscured by memories, felt like an expedition into my past. The storm raged outside, yet inside me, a tempest brewed, a battle between the bravery to confront the truth and the instinct to flee from the echoes of pain. The figure turned, and the air thickened with recognition, trembling like a taut string ready to snap. "Eli." I managed to breathe out, the name hanging heavy in the air, weighing down on me with all the memories wrapped around it. Eli, the brother whose shadow cast itself longer than the light of joy that had once bathed our home. It felt surreal, yet pure instinct prevailed. I had to confront him, I had to understand that I was waiting, he said, voice like thunder, deep and haunting. Our childhood played behind my eyes, cheers echoing from summer afternoons, but then came the waves of guilt crashing against my heart. "You left," my voice rose, cutting through the storm outside, though I could barely manage to summon the strength. "You left us. You chose the darkness over us. You chose everything over family, Evie," he whispered, and the pain reflected in his eyes was a mirror to my own. "I didn't want to. I couldn't bear the weight of it, of what I had done. Do you think I haven't regretted it every day? The walls around us trembled, swirling with the memories that lingered, the laughter and hugs turned to despair and regret. Your addiction broke us, I reiterated, standing firm in my conviction. Sarah, Mom, they were left to deal with it all alone. They thought I was the enemy, he replied, anguish spilling into his voice, but it was Mimi addiction that tore us apart. The night of the accident I was supposed to protect her. It was always my job. The cacophony of my thoughts tangled with the sound of the storm outside, just like all the swirling emotions I'd stowed away for far too long. But your choices chased us into shadows we cannot escape, I pressed on, my heart bleeding with anger and hurt. You had your chances, Eli. You had every opportunity to fight, but as much as I wanted to declare him the sole architect of our disintegration, part of me recognized the truth resonating in his despair. The same shadow that gripped him had wrapped around me as well. It wasn't something I could only hurl onto him. I demanded clarity. Tell me what happened, I implored, taking a step forward, my heart pounding out a new rhythm of vulnerability. What did you do that night? His gaze faltered, the storm creating reflection not just outside but within. I could see the flickering memories dance behind his eyes like embers ready to extinguish. I thought I could keep everyone safe. I thought I could protect Sarah from everything. When the storm hit, I slipped away for just a moment to gather my thoughts. I left them. I should have been there, the car accident. The words fell like fragile leaves in an autumn gale, trembling under the weight of emotion that I was supposed to be her brother. I was supposed to guide her. Ella's shoulders began to shake, and for the first time, I saw the cracks in his facade. If moment I came back, I heard the screech of metal, the crushing impact in the distance. I should have been there. It's my fault. Tears blurred my vision as I realized it had never just been him, had been a victim too, wading through the currents of an insatiable darkness. We both had. The truth that had evaded us should have cemented our unity but instead drove us further apart. That I didn't mean to lose her, he whispered, gaze steady, but filled with a churning storm. I couldn't listen to Mom anymore. I drowned myself in my addiction. I thought it would make everything go away. I thought I was protecting myself. But it just deepened the despair. I caused the shadows. I thought I could escape, but they came for me, too. A wave of understanding hit. Mayhe had also been victimized by the family legacy of pain and loss. Perhaps we both were bound by tragedy. We need to forgive each other. I choked out the words, desperation spilling into the marrow of my voice. To free ourselves from Thisto, you understand? We cannot keep punishing ourselves for what we couldn't control. Ella's eyes widened as if struck by an unseen force. Forgive me. You want me to forgive myself? Yes, I pleaded, stepping closer, words spilling out impulsively. Forgive yourself for all of it, for us. We've both carried this pain long enough. Forgive yourself for Sarah and for Mom. Your redemption is our family's salvation. But just as the realization settled, a piercing scream shot through the walls, loud and shattering. The presence of the mansion tightened around us, echoing our grief and anger in a twisted wail, a reminder that the past had to be confronted. No. Eli cried out, but before we could react, the very walls surged with shadows swirling around us, engulfing our forms, coursing with raw anger. Something primal grasped us, gripping our reality, drawing forth the essence of past mistakes in a dark crescendo, forcing our truths to the surface. The tempest outside intensified, crashing against the windowsill. It was more than a storm, it symbolized the tension we could no longer deny. With hearts pounding together, we confronted the shadows aligned against us. What do you want from us? I demanded into the chaos. What truth must we face? For a moment, everything froze, a stillness settling like thick fog, and then a voice echoed through the abyss. Forgive the darkness, let the light break free. You fight me, but I am part of you. Only by learning can you break free. With that, the shadows writhed like living beings, circling around us, demanding our attention. They highlighted our failures but also revealed something untaped, a pool of unspent love pulled together by devastation, a family still bound not merely by anger but also by shared history, awaiting resolution. That I am here. I shouted into the void, my heart fighting to break through the layers of grief and fear. I see you, I hear you. We will not let you drown us further. Eli joined in, voice trembling but with spirit. You will not claim us. You cannot strip us of our love any longer. As we united our voices, I felt the energy shift, warmth threaded through the shadows, intertwining love and loss. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I glimpsed the path emerging through that despair, recognizing the power of forgiveness flowing through our veins. That I forgive you, I whispered, feeling the strength bolster within me. I forgive you, Eli. I forgive myself. His nod solidified it, a fragile yet powerful chain connecting us to the light just beyond the darkness, and then the tempest broke. The air filled with warmth and reverberating melodies rose up from deep within the mansion. The shadows began to wither, diluting under our cries, replaced with swirling light. And in that light, amid the tempest of my emotions fading into calm, images flickered like paintings restored, memories sweetened and remade. Sarah appeared within the light, glimmering, radiant, unbroken. She offered a gentle smile, and with it, I felt the burden of anger lift, revealing a pathway toward healing. Eli stepped forward, a glint of recognition igniting in his eyes as he saw her too. With heart's pirate ship anchored to forgiveness, we reached out to each other, bound by our love and longing, finally willing to confront what had severed our family. Together, I breathed, together, echoed Eli. The light surged around us, illuminating not just our broken past but the journey still ahead, the promise of redemption whispering among us. And though the storm would never fade completely from my memories, it would merely become like a passing cloud, allowing us to finally stand under the brilliant, unwavering sun, side by side. That I in that moment, the truth unraveled, a truth that would carry us as we stepped through the threshold of our family's legacy, tethered to the fragility of light we learned to embrace. And as the last remnants of shadows melted away, a realization settled deep within my spirit: love is, and always will be, the strongest force, binding us together through every storm. As I glanced back at my brother, a profound sense of serenity washed over me. We'll find our way, I declared softly. And for her, we must carry forward. His eyes reflected a similar understanding, soaking in the weight of that shared promise, and I finally knew beyond loss and grief, there was acceptance. And as we stepped into the world outside, the horizon glowed with a warmth that wrapped us in the kind of hope that begged to be chased. A new chapter awaited, a boundless journey ahead, unfolding like a tapestry adorned with love and resilience. For home was not just a place, it was a choice, an act of forgiveness, and a remembrance of who we were destined to be. In that light, we moved forward, hand in hand, ready to reclaim not just a name but the very essence of family. And our laughter echoed in the falling rain. Only this time, it was not an echo of grief, but a beautiful symphony of healing.